To the sweet lady I met at the park who asked me if my videos are child-friendly, I sincerely apologize. I used potty language in this video. There are 3 instances of a naughty word in reference to wasp excrement. They will be bleeped out. Other than that, this is a nice educational video.
Hello, how are you? I have a surprise for you. It's a hornet's nest. My brother found this hanging from a mall building, so I thought, why not cut it open? Give it a bit of a dissection. You can see the entrance right here. I'm 99% sure this is a bald-faced hornet's nest. Bald-faced hornets aren't actually hornets, but more on that later. This nest is made out of paper. Wasps made paper before we did. So I'm gonna try to cut this in a way that allows me to put it back together. Now, the reason bald-faced hornets aren't considered hornets, despite being called hornets, is because hornets are insects that belong to the genus Vespa. Yellow jackets are insects that belong to the genuses Vespula and Dolicovespula. And the bald-faced hornet is Dolicovespula maculata. I know they don't look exactly like the yellow jackets you're probably used to. The yellow wasps with black stripes. See this? It's all paper. The way they make the paper is they'll basically fly around and find wood, and they'll rip shreds out of the wood, which is basically the cellulose of the wood, and they'll chew it up and combine it with their saliva. And with enough mashing and enough saliva, it makes paper. There's obviously enzymes in there that help that process. And they can use this to make either envelope, which is what you see over here, or comb, which is inside. There's many layers of envelope, and I'll show you this when I cut it open. This is incredible. Oh my god. So cool. Look at this. So as you can see, this is the envelope, and this is the comb. The comb is where the queen will lay the eggs, which will then develop into larvae, and eventually they will add these little silk caps when they're ready to pupate into adults. There's multiple layers of the comb. This nest probably started out looking like the lowest bit of this comb. The life cycle of a hornet's nest begins with just a queen at the beginning of spring, and she will start building a tiny little comb, but she will build it with an envelope around it. She'll lay eggs inside this comb. At the beginning, she'll do everything. She'll forage for food for the larvae, she'll defend from predators, she'll build envelope, she'll build comb. She works non-stop to get the nest started. Eventually, the eggs will hatch and the larvae will turn into adults, and then they can start picking up some of the work. They'll begin building layers and layers of envelope on top of already existing envelope. And as they grow this layering and envelope bigger and bigger, they'll chew out the inner envelope and they'll use it to build more comb. So this way, all of the comb is always protected and covered by a layer of envelope, but then they can expand it at will. This is a little different from European hornets. The difference between them and bald-faced hornets in terms of the way they build their nests is bald-faced hornets are aerial nest builders. So they'll find a spot outdoors, like underneath the overhang of a building or a tree branch, and they'll build a nest suspended there. Whereas European hornets are cavity building species. They try to find cavities to build their nests inside of. That could be the hollow of a tree or your wall, for example. As their nest is protected by the cavities that they're building in, European hornets will build their layers of comb, and slowly as they do that, they build the envelope around it. As opposed to bald-faced hornets, who make sure that the comb is always surrounded by a layer of envelope. Now, European hornets will also build with layers when they need to expand horizontally rather than vertically. But other than that, they'll build layer and layer of comb while simultaneously building the envelope around it. All right, let's keep cutting, shall we? Look what just came out. I was right. Bald-Faced Hornets. I'm surprised she hasn't rotted. I've had this nest in my room for a while. I would love to find a member of every life stage. So larva, pupa, maybe even the queen. But this, I believe, is an adult worker. Unless if it's a drone or a new queen. But most of the wasps in this nest will be adult workers. We're finding more workers. Smells musty. There it is, that's the top. There's a lot of dead wasps on the top. Now, we've talked about aerial nests and cavity nests, but there's also subterranean nests. Subterranean species, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. They'll build their nests underground. Usually they'll find an abandoned rodent tunnel and they'll excavate it out and slowly build a larger nest as they excavate the cavity out more. There's no true hornet species that are endemic to the US, as the only hornet here, the European hornet, and now, in some cases, the Asian giant hornet, are both introduced. In terms of Europe, I believe there's 3 species of hornet: the yellow-legged hornet, the oriental hornet, and the European hornet. But the one you're gonna see the most often is the European hornet. Africa, only 1 species, the oriental hornet. South America, I believe, also does not have any hornets. And then there's Asia, with like 19, 20 species, something like that. Oh, Asia. All right, let's get her done. Originally, the nest would have been connected to a tree, or in this case, the overhang of a building, by a very tiny thread, which started right here. But as the nest got bigger, the attachment point also was increased in size. Basically, all that I know about these guys, I learned from the Hornet King on YouTube. So his videos are very informative. If you guys want to learn more, or even if you want to see footage of these things that I've explained, he has it all. He's got really good footage and a lot more information, and he can explain it a lot better than I can. But shout out to Hornet King. Thank you for the educational content. Voila! That's the comb. It's kind of crooked. You can see here, the comb started to fold it on itself. So it's not straight layers, one on top of the other. It's interesting. Let me clean this up a bit. So we can get a closer look. This is so cool. Damn, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Nature, man. Nature. I'm gonna open up some of these silk caps and see if I can find some pupa, since there doesn't seem to be any larvae left, unfortunately. There's something in there. That's not a larva. It's just a piece of meat. I don't know if I'll find anything. They've probably all rotted. Yeah, they all seem to be like shriveled up. Shriveled up. I'm assuming we don't have any larvae or pupa because they don't have a hard exoskeleton like the wasps. Well, the pupa have a little bit, but they're mostly soft-bodied, so they've kind of shriveled up and the inside has rotted. And the larvae probably just have completely rotted, leaving no trace behind. Damn, that's too bad. I was hoping I could find a member of each life stage so I could display them with the nest. Yeah, now that I think of it, I think there are the remains of larvae. It's just doesn't look anything like a larva. It's just kind of like a pile of shit. So yeah, I know it's sad, but eventually when wintertime and fall come around, the nest will die and with it any remaining larvae and pupa. Alright, that's a pretty good find. Well, this looks to be a pupa that had almost hatched, so it was basically a wasp that was about to come out. While we're looking for larvae, let's talk a little bit about how the parenting system works. The wasps, they don't actually eat meat. Even though you'll see them hunting bugs, they don't actually feed on the meat. They'll feed on flower nectar, just like these, and any sort of fruit juices that they find. They'll take the meat back, they'll chew it up. The larva will digest these insects or meat, and then they'll excrete a sort of liquid sugar protein mix. The wasps will actually feed on that. So the wasps feed on flower nectar, fruit sugars, and the excrement of the larva, which also keeps the nest clean so that the larvae aren't shitting on the paper. And then the wasps will process that liquid and excrete it outside of the nest, hopefully. Although, this does smell pretty bad, so I think they've been shitting in here. Oh yeah, I think that's about it. I'm gonna try to put this back together in a way that can be opened up, so you can kind of get a inside look of the nest whenever you want. Maybe I'll find some larvae and wasps to display along this nest. If you learned something or if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notifications and like this video. If I get 100 likes, I'm gonna let one of these wasps sting me. That's a promise. You get it? Every 100 likes equals a sting. I may or may not be allergic to wasps. I don't know, it's under review. Only one way to find out, right? Alright, well, that's about it. Peace.